Good afternoon, everybody. I think by now, everybody should know that NIU is going to start a process of program prioritization. And I want to join President Baker and Vice Provost Burbick in giving a great shout out to Kelly Bauer and the Northern Star, because if you haven't seen it, there's a very detailed and informative story that's front page and above the fold today. So even if you've read the story, even if you've seen the words program prioritization in a Baker report, what does that exactly mean? And I want to compliment Vice Provost Burbick for sending the message that it's about efficiencies and it's about partnerships, and it's not just a cutting exercise. Program prioritization is something that universities should be doing in flush times and in lean times, because it encourages us to ask on a regular basis, what should we be doing that we aren't doing? What shouldn't we do at all? What do we need to keep doing? And what do we need to stop doing? And that's how we achieve the type of structure and process efficiency and re-engineering that the president alluded to. And we do this in a way that uses data. It uses data to answer those questions, to align our strategic priorities and goals with our budget and expenditures, to enhance our effectiveness as well as our efficiency, and to strengthen NIU overall as a result. And we are not alone in embarking on a program prioritization process. In a recent survey of over 100 institutions, colleges, universities, and community colleges, public and private, half of them were already undergoing some form of program prioritization or participating in some prioritization process, and another quarter were planning to do so. So that's good. It doesn't mean that we're behind the curve. It means that we have a lot of collective experience of other institutions that we can learn from, that we can use to help us find our way forward. The basic elements of program prioritization are shown on this slide. You need a game plan, guiding principles, something we all agree to as the ground rules. You need to inventory your programs so you know which programs will be considered in the process. You need to agree upon criteria that will be used to evaluate the programs, both academic programs and administrative programs. You need data templates and submission formats that will allow the programs to take data, analyze it, create narratives that tell their stories in the most compelling ways so that the review panels that are charged with prioritizing or ranking the programs can do that using the best possible information available. And then you need processes for connecting findings to action steps. These elements are not, these building blocks, they're just not there overnight. And one of the things we can learn from all the other institutions that went before us is that it takes at least a year to really roll with program prioritization. So where are we in the process? Well, last fall, we started exploring program prioritization processes. We developed a coordinating team, and I'm going to talk a little bit more about that. And we started to communicate with the campus about our intention to move forward in this fashion. This spring, we're establishing the guiding principles. We're going to ask all of you to participate in a collaborative exercise to help us establish the criteria for evaluating programs and to nominate people to serve on the task forces or review panels that will actually be prioritizing our programs. Next fall, we'll be giving the programs the data that they need to tell their stories and make their cases. And the people, the faculty, the staff, the students, the alumni associated with programs will be analyzing those data. And then the task force will start to review what's submitted. And they will prioritize programs into 5 categories. We haven't named those groups yet, but the types of outcomes we expect are, this program should be enriched. This program should be maintained at the same level. This program should be restructured to establish more efficiency. This program should be minimized. Any of those are possible outcomes. It won't be until the end of spring 2016 that the recommendations that come from the task force will be used to inform the budget. So that will be the budget for fiscal year 17, the first one impacted by program prioritization. So in order to be guided by best practice, to learn from the experience of other universities, NIU took a fairly large team to a conference that was offered in Chicago. The conference was attended by 20 other institutions. There were no other institutions from Illinois, but there was one of our sister MAC institutions, Western Michigan University, represented there. And when you look at the list of names that's here, I want you to note that these are people who have perspectives from across campus. They represent various groups associated with our shared governance systems. And most of all, collectively, they have the expertise that will be needed on campus to facilitate this process and the efforts associated with it. I know many of the team members are in the audience, so as I call their names and say a little bit about their role, if you wouldn't mind standing if you're here, I'd really appreciate that. Attending the conference and being a key part of our coordinating team, we have Jeff Reynolds, who is a data analyst in the office of the Provost. He'll be helping the programs get the data that they need and helping them analyze those data as invited so that the stories are told appropriately. Ibrahim Abdelmotalib, he's in Saudi Arabia. I know he's not here. He's a faculty member in engineering, and he's the chair of the University Council Resource Space and Budget Committee, shared governance committee that really helps the president and I make our budget decisions, along with the CFO and others. We have Susan Minney, the vice provost for resource planning, who knows a lot about budgets and space and human resources and other resources on campus. Together, Jeff and Ibrahim and Sue make up the data subgroup of the coordinating team. We have Bill Pitney, who I think is here. He's the Faculty Senate President and the Executive Secretary of University Council. We have Brett Coriel, who is our Chief Information Officer and also represents a cabinet-level vice president, and Mark Falkoff, a professor in the College of Law, who's headed for a long time the Academic Planning Council, the shared governance committee of Faculty Senate that manages program review. Together, Bill and Brett and Mark are really helping us with implementation of program prioritization. They're the ones who are designing the processes that will be used to seek feedback on evaluation criteria and seek nominations for the task forces. And then we have Denise Shanebackler, the Dean of the College of Business. She has a marketing background, which is relevant here, as well as representing the Dean's perspective. We have Andy Small, who I know I saw in the audience earlier. Andy's the former president of Operating Staff Council, and he's still very involved at a statewide level with the State University Civil Service System. And we have Kelly Westner-Michael, who's Associate Vice President of Student Affairs, Dean of Students, who has a perspective of co-curricular activities and a student lens. Together, Denise, Andy, and Kelly make up our communications subgroup. And then the effort is coordinated by Carolyn DeDouglas, Vice Provost for Academic Planning, and me. And so when I say this is a coordinating team who's here to facilitate the process, I really want to emphasize that. The people on the previous slide are not making decisions in their roles on the team. They are really the ones who are coordinating the flow of information from all the different entities on campus who need to be consulted back and forth. So, for example, the coordinating team's communications subgroup is working with marketing and communications and IT and others on campus to develop a website. And that website will be launched next week. It'll have a frequently asked questions system. It'll have a place where you can ask or comment anonymously on the program prioritization process. And it'll have copies of all these PowerPoints and materials. The data sub-team is working with institutional research, registration and records, academic analysis, sponsored projects, and others, along with the cabinet, the Council of Deans, faculty members on various committees, to make sure that we understand what the data needs of the programs are and that we get them what they need to tell their stories in a concise manner and allow them to work effectively to create the narratives. And then, again, we'll be communicating all along the timeline with everyone in the audience. So our guiding principles, the ground rules for program prioritization. Well, first off, let me say there are no sacred cows. All programs, academic and administrative, will be subject to program prioritization. There are no decisions being made in advance, and all decisions will be made using data. Any program that undergoes diminution or elimination, we will honor the contracts of the associated employees, and we will guarantee for academic programs that may be diminished or eliminated that students can finish their academic programs, get their degrees. This isn't any different than what we do now. On a more ad hoc basis, we eliminate degree programs. We eliminate other activities. One point in time, we probably had a whole unit devoted to selectric typewriters or computer punch cards, but we don't have those units anymore. We made sure the employees who worked in those units were retrained so that they could contribute to NIU in other ways, and that's what we'll do here. When we eliminate majors or minors or emphases or certificates, we teach out our students, and we'll do that here. Is that where I'm going? Yeah. So what is exactly a program? I've talked about administrative programs. I've talked about academic programs in the context of prioritization. What am I talking about? A program is any activity or collection of activities that consumes resources, and those are human resources, financial resources, space, equipment, and time. But programs and departments are not the same thing. And that's true for academic programs, and that's true for administrative programs. An academic department will be the home to many different academic programs. In any one department, there will be majors, there will be minors, there will be clusters of general education courses, there'll be certificates, there may be research centers and institutes. All of those are individual programs. Within an administrative department, take athletics. We'll have a variety of teams. Men's and women's basketball, football. We'll have athletic compliance. We'll have student support, advising under athletics. We'll have multiple programs. So a program is not the same as a department or a division. When we use the words academic and administrative in the context of program prioritization, we use them in a very specific way, not the way we use them in casual conversation, so that an academic program is really something that's either instructional or research oriented. Some of the things that we normally consider academic on our campus, like the library, like advising, are actually considered administrative in the context of program prioritization. And that's shown to be a best and effective practice on other campuses that have undergone this process. So I've talked about the fact that we have to pick the criteria that we're going to use to evaluate programs. And NIU hasn't done that yet. And we're going to ask all of you in the audience to help us do that. One starting point that many campuses have used as a discussion point, a discussion starter for prioritization criteria, are the criteria that were published in the book that's shown on this slide. Book published in the mid-90s, Prioritizing Academic Programs and Services. There were 10 criteria published in this book. You see them on the slide. They have some very good aspects. They actually honor the history of programs. They provide opportunities for the programs to use quantitative and qualitative data to tell their stories. And they have a clear place for the voices of students and the voices of alumni. But this is not the be-all and end-all. And many campuses think that 10 criteria are too many. And they collapse them into an alternative version, such as the one seen here. Interestingly, the criteria shown on this slide were used on a couple of campuses for both academic and administrative programs. It's just that the questions that were asked underneath each of these differed for the academic and administrative programs. We don't know what our criteria are going to look like, but Bill Pitney and his subgroup are working hard on constructing a survey that will be distributed by Qualtrics, and people in the audience and elsewhere on campus will be asked their opinions, how many criteria, what weights, which are the ones that are important. There'll be a place to write in criteria. We'll take that feedback, we'll bring it to a joint task force of the Academic Planning Council, the Resource Space and Budget Committee, and we'll add some others. We'll probably add students so that students have some voice in selecting the criteria, and that will be the way that we choose our program criteria. Once the criteria for evaluation are selected, we'll start the process for picking the task forces. And again, we'll have nomination forms, we'll have a process for submitting nominations. Academic programs will be evaluated by a task force that's comprised completely of tenured faculty. And there'll be faculty representatives from all 7 colleges, but there won't be representatives from all 7 colleges so that every college or program has an advocate. We'll have 7 colleges represented for their collective wisdom. Similarly, the administrative task force will have faculty on it, but will also have staff representation, and there'll be representation from all 10 divisions. But people won't be there to argue for their program, they'll be there for their collective perspective. The time to argue for your program is when you analyze the data and submit the program narrative. People who serve on these task forces, we want them to be nominated by peers for what we're calling a trustee mentality. That's someone who has a truly institutional perspective, who puts the good of NIU before their personal good, before the good of the program they participate in or the college that they sit in. So think carefully about who you know that might be of a trustee mentality, suitable to sit on the task force, someone who, when they're asked to serve on a committee, shows up, does the job. Nominate them, follow the instructions that will be put out in March, and then the president and I, the chief financial officer, Al Phillips, and Bill Pitney, our exec secretary of University Council, will get together and figure out who's going to serve on the 2 task forces. So again, just to reiterate, what can you be doing now for program prioritization? Right now, you can plan to participate in the survey. The survey will be launched in February. Everyone will get an email and will be able to provide support in case you're having problems completing the survey. Start thinking about task force nominations. Who do you know that has a trustee mentality? I bet if I asked every single person in this room to take out a piece of paper and write down 5 members of our faculty and staff who you think fit that bill, we'd have a whole lot of overlap between those lists because we know who the institutional leaders are, and that's who we really want to encourage to serve on the task forces. Start lobbying them now. And again, the other thing you can do is start to think about the programs that you steward. Are there new programs that you want to create or put forth? Are there ways to restructure the programs that you're in charge of to create synergy or more efficiency so that you can incorporate that into your program narrative? And are there programs that are in your division that have kind of become moribund? That you haven't actively done anything about getting them off the books, but they're really not viable. You could think about working on that now to think about, is there a new place for them to go? Or should I submit them to program prioritization? Or should I just think about doing something different with them now? So that's the call to action.